Yeah, what's up? What's up with it? Y'all tuned in to another episode of Everything Boxing. I don't watch reality TV. I watch boxing. There you go talking that boxing again. Mike Moss, what it do? Yeah. And y'all know what it is. When you come in the building, make sure you hit that like button and jump in the comment section. Let me know you in the building. Yeah, what's up with it? Yeah, we gonna go in tonight. It's finna go down. It's finna go down tonight. We finna go all the way in. And like I said, hit that like button when you come in the building. And make sure you hop in the comments and let me know you in the building. TJ Sports Nation, what's good with it? Salute. Loyal to the game, boxing talk. What it do, Kwame East? What's happening with you, fam? And if you want a link, you know what I'm saying? If you want a link to cook on what we gonna cook on, let me know. I dropped the link off in there for you. I'm gonna drop it in the chat. Yeah, we finna get the show. So I'm finna get the show started real soon. Just waiting to see, they send some more notifications out, and then we can get it popping. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get it started. You get in here late, you just get in here late. But yeah, like I said, hop in the comments and let me know you're in the building when you come in. I know YouTube, they ain't sending out the notifications to most people because I don't usually come on at this time, but it is what it is. We're gonna cook anyway. Um, so man, a lot been going on today. A lot been going on in boxing today. Uh, Adrian Broner, he got an opponent. He got an opponent. I know everybody been waiting to see who AB gonna come back and fight. And he got an opponent. Hold on, let me bring my man Kwame Eastoff in the building. What's good with you, Kwame?
What's going on, family?
Oh man, just cooking. Don't usually come on this late, but we here.
That we are.
Yes, sir. Dorian Gray off in the building. Omega Red, what's good with it? Salute. Yeah, man. You heard AB, he finally got an opponent.
Oh yeah, who he fighting?
He fighting oh man, what is the dude's name? AB is fighting damn, what's the dude's name, man? He fighting some dude it ain't nobody we know. It's some dude that's never fought in the States before. He ain't never fought in the US. I think he might be undefeated or he got one loss on his record, but it's a nobody that, you know what I'm saying? It's a
Giovanni Santiago.
Yeah, Santiago. I think he like 31 too.
Okay.
31 years old. What is he? He's I think what's his record? Like I think he got like 18 fights or something like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to see who the hell this dude is.
Yeah. Nobody that we know. Somebody that Santiago Havini, or how you say it? Havini.
Vinio Santiago.
Santiago.
14-0. One, I don't know if it's a draw or no contest and 10 KOs.
Yeah, so the dude that AB is gonna fight, he's 14-0. He's 31 years old. He's never fought in the States before. So you know how them dudes, they go over, to these other countries like Mexico or whatever, and they'll build up their resume. But it's somebody that AB should walk through easily. AB should be able to walk through him easily, and just get his feet wet a little bit, Kwame.
Right.
Get his feet wet. He ain't been in the ring in 2 years, so it is what it is. It is what it is, man. So just some quick news. Mr. Shelton off in the building. What's good? Sylvester 2011. What's happening with it? Dorian Gray off in the building. What's happening with it? But some news for people that's been wondering, who AB is gonna fight next, because I think he didn't have probably like at least 2 or 3 fell out. Opponents already fell out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just happy he getting back in the ring. I mean, I take AB for what he is. He entertainment for me. I don't put no big, huge boxing stock into Adrian Broner no more. You know what I'm saying? Like I look at Adrian Broner like Zab, like Zab Judah. Like Zab was from Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn. I had love for Zab, but I wouldn't put no money on his ass. I mean, that's
right.
But I just got a love for AB. I remember like earlier this week, someone had put out a post about him not wanting to fight Regis Prograis and saying he was ducking. I'm like, Adrian Broner don't duck nobody. I mean, the dude just coming off a long layoff. Like,
right. Regis, it's crazy though, because a lot of people don't know this. Regis Prograis been calling Adrian Broner out since he was a motherfucking nobody sitting on the edge of the bench. Literally. Like the first time I seen Regis Prograis call AB out, right, had to be like 2015,
It's been a while. He been calling Adrian Broner for a
15,
long time.
I forgot who it was, walked up to him. Nobody knew who he was at that point in time. And he was like, yeah, I'm Regis Prograis. I'm a professional fighter. And he just started going in on AB out of nowhere. Like, yeah, I don't know. But AB, you know what I'm saying? I'll beat the fuck out of Adrian Broner. So he been talking bad about AB for a long time. So AB know who Regis Prograis is.
Oh yeah, he do.
AB gonna have to fight him.
I think they're gonna fight. It's just ain't the time. I mean, Prograis,
Yeah.
he's been active, and AB is, AB just put the bottle down and trying to get shit together in his own life, and so look, like I said, I love Adrian Broner. I think he good for the sport just from an entertainment perspective. I think he possibly could be top 3 of all time best self promoting fighters. Like he's better self promoting than Floyd. I mean, Floyd had the 24/7s and the all access with the lifestyle, but AB, he don't even need that.
Can't nobody promote themselves like AB.
Yeah.
To me, because you got to think like we had different eras where you had Hector Camacho, Macho, you had Prince Nassim Hamed. They was good self promoters, but they didn't have the platforms that these fighters do now, right? So they had to have a promoter really promote for them and then show out in the ring. AB is the only fighter, right, since the social media era, right, that promotes himself to the utmost highest degree. And he's really the only fighter that can continue to lose, ain't look good.
Right.
Come on, let's keep it 100, dog. AB has not looked good, really. AB has not looked good in a fight since he fought. Since he fought at 135 when he fought what's his name and won the title.
I know. DeMarco. Yeah, that was.
He ain't really looked good. You think about that shit. He ain't looked good in a fight since he fought Antonio DeMarco.
Right.
That was the last time AB really looked impressive in the fight.
I thought the last couple of rounds, it's so sad we got to resort to rounds with AB. But I think the last time I actually saw a good version of Adrian Broner was in the last couple of rounds against Mikey Garcia. I just feel like he just lost to the better fighter that night. He looked focused, he looked sharp, but Mikey Garcia just.
I think he was drained. I think he was drained in that.
Yeah, he came into that fight at 100. He at the weigh-in, he was weighing 138. So he came out and he just sometimes we just got to keep it 100. Marcos Maidana changed his life, man. After that Maidana fight, the AB been a little nervous to pull that trigger. It looked like Marcos Maidana took a piece of him in the ring. Like he lost a piece of himself in the ring with Marcos Maidana.
Yeah, but check this out. Like I'm talking about a whole fight. Like, the Marcos Maidana fight, that shit was an exciting fight.
It was.
Now, dog, that shit, I ain't gonna lie, man. Like, every round if you fuck with AB, right? If you really fuck with AB like I did, right?
I did too.
Every round you was terrified to death.
That's a real shit.
Because every time he got hit, it's like you felt that shit watching it on TV. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So really, the last time that he's looked good, like looked impressive throughout a whole fight to where you like this motherfucker, you know what I'm saying, was that fight, the DeMarco fight, because I think after the DeMarco fight is when he went up, right? After the DeMarco fight, he went up to fight Paulie, right?
Yep.
Or did he have a fight in between that?
I don't know. Who did he fight first? Did he fight? I think he might have fought Vicente Escobedo after DeMarco, and then he moved up.
Okay, well, since then, because he looked great in all of them fights, right?
Right.
I'll just say this: since he moved up against Paulie Malignaggi, he hasn't looked good since then. And what was it, 2000? It's
been a long time. It's been a long time.
2012. That had to be 2011 or 12.
I'm gonna keep it real, bro. After that fight with Marcos Maidana, bro, I could never even watch the replay of that fight. That shit broke my heart. I
Really,
want to see I want to see AB get trashed up like that, anymore.
that
But
shit, dog, man.
yeah, it was tough, but it is what
I
it
remember,
is.
I remember that night like it was yesterday, man. I went to a big ass Christmas party after that, right? And everybody drinking and having fun, man. And I'm standing up, dog, looking around like everybody like, what's wrong with you, dog? I was hurt about that shit, dog. Hey, I was hurt. Hey, man, I thought AB was gonna show out, man. That
Yeah,
nigga got out that van. That nigga got out that van clowning and
dancing
shit.
and
I was like, man, he finna show out. He finna get him my done ass. But my money, you know what I'm saying? Money Brown, he say, and he kind of got a point. He say that he think Madonna's gloves, he had them faulty gloves on.
he
You know
probably
what I'm
did.
saying? He said he think he had them, you know what I'm saying? He ain't had no padding in his knuckles.
Yeah,
Because remember, right after that, when he fought Floyd, Floyd got a hold of them gloves and was like, man, what the fuck is this? Ain't no padding in these fucking gloves.
right.
So how long have Madonna been using those?
Yeah, you just never know. And then
But
what was interesting was they also had Alex Ariza over there. Motherfucking Madonna came in there looking like a middleweight. And
yeah,
then
right.
so when he fought Floyd, he looked a certain way. And then when Floyd's smart, Floyd went and gave Ariza some bread and made him lead the team. And
But
Mardonna didn't look the same in the second fight.
nah, he did. He did. He really did look the same in that shit. And
Yeah,
um, it's crazy because Madonna, you know what I'm saying? He got popped anyway. So him
yeah,
hitting when he ain't got no motherfucking padding in his glove. Because
right.
remember when he called Floyd, at the end of the round, and that
Yeah,
bell had just rang.
yeah, I remember that.
Imagine, right? Because Floyd was hurt.
Yeah,
Imagine if he had a call Floyd during the middle or beginning of the
yeah,
round like that,
yeah.
right?
Right. But Floyd is survivor. We see what he did
Yeah,
against
yeah.
Mosley.
Floyd is gonna
He's
survive,
survivor.
but he was shook up because that
Yeah.
motherfucker, he froze Floyd for a minute in that corner. Like, God
Yeah. And
damn,
he hit him straight on the chin too.
straight
That's
on
why I
the
be
chin.
like people really underestimate Floyd's chin. Like
Floyd got man,
he had a chin.
Floyd arguably got the best chin we've seen because I
Yeah.
mean, shit. I mean, when we've seen him really, I mean, he didn't got caught more times than twice because
Yeah.
we know of the Madonna and we can think of the Madonna
Mosley.
and Mosley. Yeah, Madonna and Mosley. Mosley probably was the best one, but he recovered so motherfucking
Quick.
fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody gonna get hit. It's about how fast you recover.
Chop caught him with a good shot too when they fought.
Yeah,
Chop. Yeah.
right, right. Hey, my friend Mo Bean off in the building. What's good? He says Floyd has one of the best chins ever. That's
True.
a fact. And Still TV off in the building. Darren France off in the building. Let me see. Chris Val off in the building. Sheena, what's good with you, Queen? Sheena's off in the building. She say, hey, Keon, salute to your guests and chat family. Yes, yeah.
Appreciate you, Queen.
So man, let's go ahead and get into it before we get into the real business, you know, the Errol Spence, the Terrence Crawford back and forth and what's going on. I want to talk about Jamal Charlo, man. Jamal Charlo, he did an interview recently, man, and he said a lot about a lot, you know. And Jamal Charlo, really, he was like, man, I don't give a fuck about none of these dudes. Like none of them. If they had 160, 168, or 175, I'm gonna whoop all of them. Whoever, whatever fight they want to give me between 160 to 175, I'm with it. All these dudes are some suckers, really. You know what I'm saying? That's really what he was. He's talking, and you know, I like that, man, because Jamal Charlo was talking that real shit. He talking that real shit, and he called out David Benavidez. Well, I don't want to say he called him out,
Right.
but David Benavidez's name came up, and Jamal Charlo was like, "I'll beat his fucking ass too." And Jamal Charlo said, you know, they can make that fight. He said, I'll beat his ass too. And, you know, the dude that was interviewing Jamal Charlo said, well, he might be at 175. He said, I don't give a fuck. He said, if we could go to 175 and do it if we want to. He said, people don't understand. I'm a big dude. 175 ain't shit for me to look impressive at. So, that right there, right? Even if they do it at 168, right? At 168, because he said plenty of times that he want to move up to 168. He can't really get no smoke at 160, right? Can't really get no smoke at 160. So he like, whatever. I'll go to 168 for Canelo. I'll go to 168 for Benavidez. And he's serious. And so, right. So he says that, right. And one thing that he did say that I agree with, and I've argued with Money, I've argued with a couple people about this when it comes to Caleb Plant and David Benavidez, right? And make sure y'all go check out my videos. I did a fire-ass video on Caleb Plant and David Benavidez because they've been really going at each other's throats. They had a lot to say about each other. So make sure that y'all go check out my video I put up not too long ago. But anyway, back to Jamal Charlo, right? He said something that I've been saying when it comes to the Caleb Plant and David Benavidez. He said that David Benavidez gets hit with way too many clean shots, right? And he says, if I hit him with that shit, it's going to be a whole different story, right? We all know that David Benavidez, he's a monster. He's a monster. Yes. But one thing that he don't have the greatest defense. Now, can David Benavidez go in there and walk Jamal Charlo down like he be doing a lot of these other fighters? Because let's keep it real. David Benavidez, he ain't been in there with nobody yet like that. Let's keep it 100. Much love to my man Anthony Durrell. But Anthony Durrell wasn't in his prime no more. And Anthony Durrell, he gets cut easy. Anthony Durrell, he was giving David Benavidez, some problems until he got cut. Really what Anthony Durrell really did is he didn't stick to his game plan. He let David Benavidez pressure him and get him out of his game plan. And what he stopped doing is he was giving Benavidez a lot of problems when he was going down to the body with that straight jab, right? And freezing him and then coming back up and boxing him and moving him, right? We see Floyd Mayweather do that a lot. And they go straight to your midsection with that straight jab. And what it does is it freezes you up. And then, they can get other looks off of that. And Durrell, if y'all go back and watch that fight, in the beginning of the fight, Durrell was doing that. And if you notice, every time Durrell went to that body with that jab, he was giving Benavidez problems, but he didn't stick to the game plan because what they call Anthony Durrell, they call him a dog. You know what I'm saying? They call him Anthony Dog Durrell, and they don't call him that for no reason. Because that's his MO. He gonna fight you like a dog. And he got out of his plan where he should have kept boxing, sticking, and moving. And Benavidez was having trouble when he was fighting him like that. But Anthony Durrell he ended up getting cut, and then we know what happened from there. But other than that, Benavidez, he ain't really fought nobody, right? He's sure they ain't fought nobody on the level of a Jamal Charlo. Now, I'm not saying that Jamal Charlo gonna go in there and whoop him. But can David Benavidez, right? And Jamal Charlo's a big, strong, athletic dude. Got a jab out of this fucking world. Can box. He can bang. All of that. Can David Benavidez, right, go in there and walk Jamal Charlo down? Because we see Jamal Charlo at 160 pounds. I'm going to tell y'all like this. I've seen Jamal Charlo. I done been kicked it around Jamal Charlo. I didn't interview Jamal Charlo. That motherfucker is a big dude. Like, I don't have no idea how Jamal Charlo makes 160 pounds. Yeah. That's just like when we seen Jared Hurd make 154 pounds, but then we seen him, in certain interviews looking like he was 220.
Right.
I don't. It's the same thing with Jamal Charlo, but see, it's different with Jamal Charlo because Jamal Charlo, he always stay in tip top shape, right? So
True.
it's not like that. I seen Jamal Charlo walking around and he was out of shape and just looking big as fuck. He was in tip top shape. You know what I'm saying? Still fucking cut up. You know what I'm saying? Like a bag of bad dope. Like he was in tip top shape still walking around big as fuck. I don't know how he gets down to 160. I sure don't know how he got down to 154. But Jamal Charlo easily, right? He can easily walk around at 220, 225 and be in tip top condition still. So however he makes 160, I don't know. So Jamal Charlo is probably compromising some power in certain things, just dropping down to 160, right? I think that Jamal Charlo gonna be stronger at 168,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think he'll be stronger at 168, and I think that's a hell of a fight because I don't see Benavidez walking down Jamal Charlo and pushing him back like that. It's just gonna be two big ass boys going at it in the ring, and Jamal Charlo got a stiff, hard jab, and he can cause Benavidez a lot of problems. But Benavidez can cause Charlo a lot of problems too with his volume, with the volume that he throws. You know what I'm saying? Because he throws a lot of value. He throws at all different angles. And let's keep it real. We've seen Jamal Charlo get hit with some shit. He don't got the. I mean, his defense is cool. He got better defense than Benavidez, but he don't have the greatest defense in the world
You
either.
don't. Nope.
You know what I'm saying? So that to me, that's a fight of the year candidate type of fight because they gonna go at it. They gonna end up going at it. I like that fucking fight, dog. That's a fight that could be made. It could be easily made just because. And I'm gonna let you go ahead and cook on this, but I want to throw this out there. Benavidez responded quickly, right? And Benavidez, he gave Jamal Charlo a lot of respect. He said, that's a hell of a fight. He said, Jamal Charlo's a fucking hell of a fighter. He said, I would love that fight. He said, let's make that fight happen. He said, we can make that fight happen this year. He said, because we both work with the same people.
Right.
We both work with the same people. Let's go ahead and make it happen. He said, because he said Jamal Charlo saying that he'll knock me the fuck out. He said, I think I'll knock him the fuck out. So he said, it's a great fight. Let's make the fight happen. His people was like, they agreed that it's a great fight. And that's a fight. That's a fight because David Benavidez, he can't get no big fights right now. He not getting a Plant fight right now because Plant got other big things on his plate. Canelo don't want to fight him. He don't want to fight no Mexicans, whatever the fuck that's about.
Yeah, I know what that's about.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and then we got Charlo. He got the same problem. These cats don't want to fight him at his weight class. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We need to start pushing for that fight. What you think about that, Kwame? What?
I think, in all honesty, I think David Benavidez is probably a top 15 fighter in the world. Like that guy could fight, man. I think that would be an excellent fight. I'm a big Charlo fan, but realistically, I think I'd probably favor Benavidez in that fight. Just me, honestly, realistically, because I've just seen some things in Jamal Charlo where I've seen him be a little limited in what he could do in the ring, and I feel like David Benavidez is a little bit more versatile. I feel like he could do a little bit more, but it is interesting, as you said, he does get hit, and you know, like you said, Charlo will probably be even stronger at 168 because he ain't got to drop, cut so much weight. Uh, I've been around both of the Charlos too. Just one time though, after the Ocampo fight, and Jamal big dude. He's not.
Dude, dog.
I look at him like, how the fuck do you make 160?
Man.
Like that shit don't even make no sense. But Yeah, I mean, we should push for that fight. That's a great fight, and I think both of those guys deserve a big fight as well. Um, I'm I'm not cool with the Caleb Plant situation. I think he should have fought Benavidez already. I feel like also,
Go watch my video. I got the audio and everything. I break that shit down lovely, and he tells you why he did that, why they didn't fight. His
okay,
dad actually talks about it. Check out the video. I'm telling you, you gotta go check out the video.
I'll
It's gonna
check.
tell you a lot.
I'll definitely check it out. Also, I feel like that you know Charlo and Benavidez both haven't gotten the fights they should have gotten this point in their career. I feel more for Charlo because he's done everything he could have done. Benavidez, on the other hand, has lost his belt twice. So I don't understand. With Benavidez, why he just can't be dedicated to the sport and just look. He made a mistake, I guess, if you want to call it a mistake with the whole cocaine thing, and then we got the
Jason Plant.
situation. Hey, what's going on? And
Hey,
then we get
hey, much respect. I'm not sure the host's name. Is that Moni?
no, I'm not Monty. I'm
I can't
Kwame.
see. I can't see good. My vision is really bad.
No, this Keon, this everything boxing.
Yeah, for sure, Keon. Keon, much respect. One night I got kicked out of your chat. I sent you something. You took it the wrong way, and you kicked me out.
Oh, good man. We cooking. I'm gonna let you cook and get your say in on this subject, and we can move along. Kwame, you finish, and then I'm gonna go to you.
Yeah, yeah. So, look, at the end of the day, both of these guys deserve a big fight. Benavidez, I mean, they've been trying to keep him at a certain level, but he just hasn't been as disciplined and dedicated as he should have been. There's no way in the world he should have dropped his belt on the scale. People could blame COVID, but one of the things about the whole COVID situation is being isolated and being away from things. It should give you the self time and the discipline to be on top of things. So him not making weight, because he looked like what the fight that he lost his belt, he looked flabby. Like he looked like his diet needed to be changed or something. Like he had too many pork chops and empanadas and shit. Like like you in the fight game, brother. Like what you doing? He look a little soft and flabby, and you could blame it on COVID, but you can't. So if you already were in a situation where you lost your belt, not from a fight, but personal reasons, I'm not going to throw no dirt on that man's name. He did what he did. He lost his belt. He fought. He got it back. And you got to be dedicated to the sport. And when I look at both sides, I feel like Benavidez is a more complete fighter than Charlo Jamal. But on the flip side, salute Blue Blood. On the
Blue
flip
blood.
side, on the flip side, Jamal Charlo, like you said, is always in shape. And when a person is always working, that could be the edge that they need in a fight. So it's a great fight. It's a great fight. I say 50-50 fight, but I do feel like David Benavidez is a very, very special fighter. When I watch him fight, he looks extremely comfortable in the ring. There are a lot of things that he can do, a lot of different styles. He can put punches together very well. Wayne Jr. says, how is Benavidez better? I mean, he make easier work of his opponents than Jamal Charlo. We just being honest. I mean, they go in there, they be getting knocked out. And from a perspective, from an offensive perspective, he had more weapons. Because I remember I watched Jamal Charlo fight, and I forgot the guy's name. It was a little tough. It was a tough little guy. He was I forgot what he was, a little light skinned dude, but he was tough. And Jamal was hitting him with everything, but he wasn't going nowhere. But what I noticed was that Jamal never really switched up his attack in the fight. where I've seen Benavidez been able to switch up his attack and do different things. It's just that, some boxers, listen, one boxer, a boxer could be more talented than another boxer, but it doesn't make them a better fighter than the other boxer, just based on talent alone. You could be more talented, but not a better
You
fighter.
talking about when Jamal Charlo fought Brandon Adams?
Yes, that's
Brandon
what,
Adams
that's
is
what
a
it was.
solid fighter though. He a tough. Brandon CP. Don't sleep on Brandon Adams. He one of them rough, rugged, solid fighters. He's solid, man.
Yeah. No, he's a very solid fighter. He had a chin and a half. He was eating some shit, and he kept coming. I had to salute him on that. But it's just a thing, and I'm still addressing who's this brother here, Wayne Jr. Some people you could look at and see that they have certain tools and how comfortable they are in the ring, and how just how familiar they are with things. And I see that in Benavidez. I just see it. It's just more of a natural feel when I watch him fight in these fights. But on the flip side, he hasn't fought anything remotely close to a Jamal Charlo. He hasn't. But also on the flip side, Jamal Charlo hasn't fought anything remotely close to a David Benavidez either. And it'd be a great.
Jamal Charlo has fought high level competition.
He has.
And David Benavidez hasn't fought that level of competition yet.
Right. But as I said, I also feel like Benavidez is just a special fighter. They're both special fighters. But I also feel like Benavidez is a special fighter. I just watch how comfortable he is when he's fighting. It's like another day in the office. But we, guys have to fight, and we just have to see. I'm going to rock with Jamal. I'm going to rock with Jamal Charlo, but it's just like if I see Tank fighting someone else, I'm a rock with Tank, but sometimes there are people that I think is a legitimate threat. And I feel like David Benavidez is a legitimate threat in a fight. It could happen. And I feel like another thing that David Benavidez can do, because it doesn't have to be about knocking a person out. I feel like David Benavidez could possibly outbox Jamal Charlo. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, to me, it's a 50-50 fight. I'm gonna have to go with Jamal Charlo just because he's been in there with the much tougher competition. I think that Jamal Charlo's jab causes Benavidez a lot of problems, but you don't know. Benavidez might be able to overwhelm Jamal Charlo with his activity. In all them awkward punches he throws from different angles.
Yeah.
I mean, he Benavidez kind of remind me, right, in some ways of like fucking Tyson Fury, how they be throwing a lot of punches in different angles and shit, but we'll see. Go Mad Chad. What you think about this David Benavidez and Charlo? This a fight you want to see?
Yeah. Much respect to the panel up here. I hit the likes, and I tried to hit the super chat, man, and it didn't go through. Like I'm saying, I think Benavidez, I think he's learned a lot in the last few years. I just see an interview with Mike. I think this guy named Mike. He had the old man on talking about David and just how much he's matured, how he has a son, and like even with Errol, you see his daughters rooting for him, and you see his close knit family. It's like even Tio, you see his dad there. When they have that special connection, I'm not familiar with the Charlo. I know those Charlos got chin of granite. They're pit bulls. Both those Charlos are gonna go in there and they're gonna give you a fight. I'll tell you, the styles match up great with Benavidez and Charlo. I don't know. It's a 50-50 fight. Bring it on. I'd love to see it. But I love the growth in Benavidez. I love the kid that learns from his mistakes. You know what I mean? And I love his style. And I think it would be a great fight. I would favor Benavidez. I love that close-knit family when they mature, because they're young kids. And I see Tank skiing. Tank's out there skiing with his family and his friends, and I love that when you become peaceful, because fighters can go down that road. You're a rock star, right? And everything you go, you got the women thrown at you, you got everything paid for. Your cab's free, your hotel's free, right? Your steak's free, your beer's free, your Hennessy's free. And it can go to your head. And those fighters, that get on that Tom Brady diet, and they got that family, and they get that close circle. Like when Errol Spence's car flipped, he was my favorite fighter before the crash. When his car flipped, right, and nothing came out. TMZ, all they had was a little thing. Nothing came out. I'm like, how close-knit is this kid's family?
Yeah.
And then you see his old man's at the helm, he's close with his old man, and then he's got the little kids, and now he's got the horse, you know what I mean? It's like this kid's fighting for more than boxing. It becomes bigger than boxing. And everything's great. I want to see these fights. I want to see Crawford, Spence. I want to see the best fights in the world. And that's all. And I respect you guys. I want to hear what you guys have to say. And I had no respect to the channel one day. One time I was driving with a coworker, and we were up north in Maine, and he kept, and the radio was busted, and I'm driving. And I said, "Excuse me, buddy." I said, "Can you blow your nose, And he kept sucking up these fucking snorts, man. It was like a pet peeve. One time you would go like that. You had an allergy going on. And I go, "Excuse me, just get rid of that shit, blow it out." And some lady's like, "Get the fuck out of here." That's all. That's all about my pet peeve about that.
Yeah, that was you. Oh, okay, yeah.
Just blow it out. That's all. That's all I was saying. That's my pet peeve.
Allergies in your nose and having a cold, that's two different things.
Get some Kleenex and blow it. Close it off and blow it.
I just had allergies.
Don't suck it up. But I have two boys, right? One son passed away. One son in 2014, my son passed away trying to save a girl. He was 16 years old. His name's Mickey, after Mickey Ward. Basically, that's what it was. It's spelled M-I-C-K-Y. And my other son, Simon, you know what I mean? And they go, I go, "No, blow it, because you got to get your head. That sucks going right up to your brain. That's where you got to breathe out. You got to breathe in clear and brush your teeth, say your prayers." That's all. That's all that was about. Much respect. Get the channel. I'm an Errol Spence fan. I thought that was Moni real quick because I got a small phone. Because he's all on Spence, and I get beat on for Spence, but I'm big on Spence.
We gonna get into that subject later. I mean, right now we gonna transition over to that. Like I said, I just want to get everybody take on that Benavidez and the Benavidez in Jamal Charlo, because I think that's a hell of a fight. I think that's a dog fight. That's a hell of a fight.
I'll pay for that.
And both of these guys, they got chips on their shoulders. They both getting ducked. And they both want to smoke with any and everybody right now. So I love that fight. I love that fight. This type of fight, those are the type of fights that we need in boxing.
Right.
So let's go ahead and transition. Right? Let's go ahead and transition, Kwame. Man, Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford once again, man. Once again, man.
Errol bullshit. Bob Arum talking bullshit. He's senile. That motherfucker's senile talking that bullshit.
Let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about it, because Errol Spence, right? We ain't heard too much from him lately. He's been he's been gone. We ain't heard. He been doing his family thing. He been on his ranch. He been with his kids. We haven't heard him come out and say too many things lately, right? But he came back with a bang today. Man. And let's get into it, right? The first thing that he did is he wanted to check Mr. Bob Arum. Because Bob has been going on certain shows, right? And he's trying to run with the narrative. Bob is, he sees that a lot of fans are running with the narrative that Errol Spence is ducking, Errol Spence is scared of Terrence Crawford. So Bob Arum, what he does as a promoter, right? What he's doing as a promoter is he's running with that, right? Because Bob Arum knows that he don't want nothing to do with this fight right now. He said it. But Bob Arum goes on, I don't know what show this was, right? If I did, I would say it. He goes on somebody's show and he starts talking about how the reason this fight is being held up is because of Errol Spence. that he's talked to Al Heyman. Al Heyman is pretty much on board, but Errol Spence is the reason this fight is being held up, because Errol don't want no parts of Terrence Crawford. Yeah, it sounds good, right? It sounds good, but Bob Arum is a liar, and he always contradicts himself, right? Because how can you come on one show and say that, but just a couple weeks ago you was talking about how you wouldn't put a dime on the Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford fight because, for one, both of those guys are going to want too much money. Both of those guys are going to want at least $10 million guaranteed, and I'm not doing it. That's what he said. That's what Bob Arum said. Both of those fighters are going to want too much money, and who's got the money? Where am I going to get the money from? You know what I'm saying? That's what he said. Now, right? So basically, you were advocating, letting it be known, like, why would I, you know what I'm saying? Why would I put money up? They're going to want too much money, especially right now in the pandemic, right? So now you're coming and you saying, hey, Chad, turn your camera off. Yeah, turn your camera off while you, okay. Now you advocate, now you're trying to flip it, right? And say, oh, no, it's Errol Spence. He's the one that's holding up the fight. Well, how is he holding up the fight when you were on camera talking about that they gonna both want too much money? You also were on camera talking about you wouldn't put up no money for, Terrence Crawford in the big fight.
He's senile. How old is Arum? How old is he?
He's damn near 90 years old.
Right? That's what I'm saying. He's senile. Time for him to go. Get the fuck out of this position. Bud, I can't even believe Bud's still with him.
So with that being said, right, Errol Spence, he checked that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Bob is on here lying again. He checked that shit. What did he say? His exact words was like, lying ass Bob strikes again, right? And with just a whole bunch of laughing emojis, right? And then, because, he's telling lies, right? And then Errol Spence, he comes back and he says, right, he references to something that Terrence Crawford is always saying, and Terrence Crawford fans are always talking about, oh, his accolades, his accomplishments, right? So Errol Spence, he says simple. He says, all those accolades with no names, people won't remember you. So he's telling you, you can have all of those accolades, right? But you ain't got no fucking names on your resume. You don't have no big names on your resume. So who is going to remember you, right? Who's going to remember you? You don't have that big fight. Who is going to remember you? Because Terrence Crawford is always saying this. Well, I can retire right now. Because matter of fact, that's what he said. I can retire right now and I'll be a Hall of Famer. Okay, fucking what's his name? It's a whole bunch of Hall of Famers that wasn't that good, that nobody really remembers right now, right? It's you know what I'm saying? It's not like to be in the Boxing Hall of Fame, it's not the same requirements as to be like in the NFL Hall of Fame, say. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of guys that's in the Hall of Fame that they just in the Hall of Fame, but you don't remember them like that. They have accolades, but you don't remember them like that. The ones that you remember are the ones that have great fights, right? Mickey Ward is in the Hall of Fame. He ain't the greatest of fighter, right? He got a lot of losses, but you remember him because he had some great fights, right? So Terrence Crawford don't have that. So Errol Spence is letting them know, like, you can have all the accolades in the world, right? But who's gonna remember you, right? And also he says, all I hear is accomplishments. He says, I see so many great, he says, I see so many greats I look up to inside the ring who didn't take care of the business outside of the ring. That shut up and box shit been over, at least with me, right? Now, what he's saying, he's telling you, right? He's seen a whole lot of fighters, right? That was greats that he looked up to, and now they're walking around, they dead broke, and they fucked up in real life. They don't have nobody to help them. They slurring their speech. because their brain is fucked up from taking punishment, right? But nobody cared about them. All they cared about is go ahead and shut up and box. Shut up and box. Just like they told LeBron, right, in the NBA, shut up and just shut up and dribble. No, motherfucker. I'm not finna shut up and do shit. And so what Errol Spence is telling you, right, you want him to forget about the business, right? Because that's what everybody's saying. Just go ahead and won't you give him 50-50 or, you know, just make the fight. We don't want it. We don't care about 60-40. We don't care about that. Just make the fight with Terrence Crawford. And he let you know, I'm not one of those people that you can just fucking tell, shut up and box. Oh, the business doesn't matter, because the business does matter. I'm going to get the business side right. I'm going to get my shit right with the business. And if we can't do that, I'm not going to get in the ring. I'm not going to get in the ring and fight you or nobody else unless the business is right. Because the days of me just shutting up and boxing, it's over. I did that before, right? I moved up the ranks in my career, right? I didn't fought dogs. Now I'm here. Now I'm the big dog. I'm the big fish. So it ain't no more fucking shut up and box. Not over here, at least. And he's just telling y'all, right? Also, he also said, what else did Errol say? He also said, he said, instead.
Can I break in real quick? Can I break in real quick?
Go ahead.
And that's the truth.
Real talk, right? And so he also said, he said, instead of taking Bob's $200K signing bonus, right? He went with Al. He said, I went with Al, my advisor, and I didn't take a signing bonus. He said, I took a stipend a month for, he said, I took a stipend a month for a whole year, right? To hold afloat till I started making okay money. He says, because I knew where I could take it and I believed in myself, right? So what he's saying, a lot of those guys that's on top rank, yeah, if you got a name like that coming into boxing, Bob Arum, he'll give you some money up front. You know, he might give you 600, 700,000. That looks like a lot of money to a lot of these kids, right? But in the long run, now you fucked up, right? Because you under contract with him, right? Now he can fuck you, right? In the long run, you
bet on yourself. Fred Van Vliet. You know, that's what he said. Bet on yourself. And that's what these fighters are doing. They're betting on their fucking self.
Right? Because in the long run, right, he in the long run, he betted on himself. He knew what he could do in the long run, right? He wasn't worried about, oh, well, I need this right now because I might be in and out. I might be, you know, a one-hit wonder. Nah, he betted on himself in the long run. Fuck the long run money. You know, I'll survive right now. I'll survive until I get that big bag. And that's just what he did. And right now he's the big fish because he made the smart move in the long run. Now he's getting the most money. Now he's on pay-per-view. Now he is calling the shots. You know, I'm sorry to say, but Terrence Crawford didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? He didn't make the smart business move, right? And so he just let you know. And but he also lets you know all of that shit that y'all talking about, that I'm scared and I'm running and I've changed my tune. He letting you know I still want to fight the best. And I'll fuck around, right? And I'll fuck around and make easy work, right, of any fighter that you call your favorite fighter, and I'll use them as a fucking tune-up, right? I'll use your favorite fighter as a goddamn tune-up. He letting them know, right? And it's all facts what he's speaking because it makes sense. If you have any business sense, it makes sense. Now, Terrence Bud Crawford, right? He had he had to respond. Terrence Crawford and his sister Letitia Crawford, they both responded, right?
Pound for pound.
Right? Basically, you know what I'm saying? They responded. And this is what Terrence Crawford had to say, right? He says, I've been champion since March 1st, 2014. 7 straight years is coming up. He said 3 different weight divisions. If I was to retire right now, the Hall of Fame would be next accomplishment. So can't say that for, and then he said, I can't say the same for, and he's talking about Errol Spence. I can't say that, but that's a lie, because it's funny, because if Errol Spence retired today, he'll go to the Hall of Fame too. But people are going to remember him, right? If Errol Spence retired today, he'll go to the Hall of Fame too, right? Of course, Terrence Crawford would go to the Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame, right? In boxing. But the difference is nobody gonna remember Terrence Crawford years from now. They're not, just because he don't have that fight. 10 years, 15 years from now, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember Terrence Crawford. But what fight are you gonna remember?
How about Crawford Porter? Why ain't he fighting fucking Porter? I think Porter pounds the fuck out of Crawford. Honestly, Porter's a fucking pit bull.
Right. So what fight are you going to, okay, Angela Williams, right? If I'm an Errol Spence fucking fanboy, 15 years from now, what fight are you going to remember that Terrence Crawford had? Let me know, right? So anyway, like I was saying, you're not going to remember that shit, right? You're not going to remember like, man, that was a great fight. Right off the bat, people in the UK are going to remember Errol Spence versus Kell Brook, right? Yep. You're going to remember Errol Spence versus Sean Porter, right? Both of them are going to be in the Hall of Fame.
You're going to remember Errol Spence fucking Mikey Garcia. You're going to remember Errol Spence Danny Garcia. You know what I mean?
50,000 fans in the stadium against, he has memorable fights already, and he just getting started.
Strap season.
So let's say Terrence Crawford versus Gamboa.
Right.
That's the only one.
That's I mean, it is
right. And what is Gamboa?
Remember Gamboa like that?
That's what I'm saying. That's my point.
You like okay. 15 years from now, you're gonna remember Sean Porter, right? He's been in great fights himself that don't involve Errol Spence. 15 years from now, you're gonna remember Danny Garcia, right? You're gonna remember Mikey Garcia. Nobody
you're gonna remember Kell Brook forever. Kell Brook went toe to toe with Triple G.
Yeah, but nobody is gonna remember. Nobody gonna remember Gamboa 15 years from now. Straight up, who's gonna be talking about Gamboa 15 years from now?
They'll talk about Postal 15 years from now.
Nobody, dog. And this is just some real shit. Omega Red said that's not a woman. Man, I know these dudes is weird, man. They weird. They'll make a woman name to be able to think they can come in the chat. Anybody can get it. Right? Just because you have a woman name in the chat, I'm still gonna fucking go hard on you. But anyway, and then we have other women in the chat like Sheena, like the Queen said, she gonna get on your helmet. So anyway, but you know, that probably ain't no woman. But anyway,
great fight coming up.
Moving forward, so Terrence Crawford, you know, that's what he had to say, because it always comes to, oh well, I have these accolades, I can retire today and go to the Hall of Fame. Yeah, you are a great fighter. You know what I'm saying? You are a great fighter. You can retire today and go to the Hall of Fame, but ain't nobody gonna remember you like that 15, 20 years from now, just because we remember fighters. What do we remember fighters for? We remember fighters for legendary fights. Right. We remember Holyfield because he got in there and fought Riddick Bowe in a legendary fight. Right. You know what I'm saying? He fought Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson fought you see what I'm saying? We remember these guys because they all had legendary fights. Terrence Crawford don't have that. So whatever you talking about, you ain't got that. So the Hall of Fame is one thing, but don't nobody who talks about, oh, such and such is in the Hall of Fame. Nobody talks about that shit in boxing. Shit, we don't even know half of the dudes that's in the Hall of Fame in boxing. I mean, it's not like the boxing Hall of Fame is like the NFL Hall of Fame. Let's just keep it real.
Right.
And he also says, but much respect to Terrence Crawford and all his accomplishments, right? Much respect to his accomplishments and what he's done. I'm not shitting.
Yeah.
You just got to keep it 100. Also, he said he laughed at when Errol Spence says that he wants to fight the best and that he'll make, you know what I'm saying, that he'll make basically he'll make any of these dudes' favorite fighter, right?
Like
He'll make a tune-up out of them, right? And Terrence Crawford thought that was funny, and he, you know, just put a lot of laughing emojis. And then Letitia Crawford, Terrence Crawford's sister, you know, she got in on the action too, and she said, this is what Letitia Crawford had to say. She said, that man, speaking, I'm pretty sure she's talking about Errol Spence. She says, that man bet you $1 million that he'll knock you out and and y'all shook on it. She says, if you believe in yourself, make that fight happen.
She's not even factual though, because that's not what they bet. They didn't even bet $1 million on that.
That's what I said when I read that. I'm like, Errol Spence never bet Terrence Crawford $1 million that he would knock him out.
Yeah, he said
behind scenes.
Right? No, they talk about when they met up, and Terrence Crawford said he was going to stop him or drop him, and Errol Spence said, "I bet you 100,000 you won't." And then Terrence Crawford said, "Let's make it $1 million." So it's actually backwards. The bet was that Terrence Crawford was going to knock out Errol Spence. So first of all, that's not factual. The second thing I want to just clear up as well is in the tweet. I think that you just got it a little crossed. What Errol Spence said was that no one's going to remember the people that he fought, stating that even though he go to the Hall of Fame, is not going to be able they're going to say, okay, Terrence Crawford in the Hall of Fame, but against who? So it wasn't saying that no one's going to remember Terrence Crawford. He was saying no one's going to remember anyone you fought to get your accomplishments because you didn't fight anybody. That's
right.
what.
Right. But you can take it.
You can flip it either right. You can flip it. You can flip it either way with that.
You can flip it either way. Because fighters are remembered by who they fought in legendary fights. You feel
Absolutely.
what I'm saying?
And I think that's the major thing with Crawford, because it's interesting, man. Like, I'm watching the chat, I'm watching social media, I'm watching my Facebook group.
What's going on with you, beautiful queen?
Hey, yeah, salute to you, queen. And I'm watching the chat, and I'm baffled sometimes by some people. How they say, like, stereotypically, they like, all black people just need an excuse to barbecue. Like, as soon as it get hot, we gonna throw the grill outside, right? It's like with Bob Arum, it's like these Spence haters, as soon as he say anything, it don't have to have any validity or fact behind it. They just go off on it. Now, Bob Arum lies so much that he don't even know how to keep up with his lie, because was it him in the past who said Errol Spence wants to fight, but Al Heyman's a cancer and Al Heyman's blocking it? I believe Spence wants to fight. Now it's Al Heyman wants to fight and Spence don't want to fight. It's before with the Manny Pacquiao situation, it was they didn't have no investors. And then later on, it was the Minister of Health that canceled the fight. There's always, it's like his story is never straight ever. And it's because when you ain't standing on the truth, it's like if you know the truth about a situation, you could recite that in your sleep. But when you just making shit up, it's like you say one thing and then a month go by and you done did so much shit and they ask you about it again. You say some other weird shit. You say, look, at the end of the day, let's keep it 100. You said, and we talk about Arum, you said that you're not betting no more money on Terrence Crawford. This is your words. Now you said you're going to give him to your son-in-law, Todd LaBeouf, or whatever his name was. These is your words. Now all of a sudden you talking to Al Heyman? I mean, like you say, which one is it? Because none of his story is consistent. And then I'm gonna address the elephant in the room. Because all these people constantly trying to come down on Errol Spence, he ducking this, that, and the other. Can we hear why Terrence Crawford don't mention Keith Thurman's name? Why every time there's a time, every time there's a fight that's brought up for Terrence Crawford, the fans and everyone reverts back to Errol Spence like he the only boxer on the planet that you could fight. You got Sean Porter in front of you, but and I'm not saying Terence Crawford don't want to fight Sean Porter. What I'm saying is that his business situation is so screwed up. They don't even want to put money.
He don't want to fight Sean Porter.
I don't think he.
No, you know why? Because we was talking about this shit the other day, and I'm gonna just in Taiwan, his cousin was like, "Nah, we don't want to fight him." He said he don't want to fight him. Taiwan said he don't want to fight Sean Porter.
I don't understand.
Let me see if I can pull up. I want to see if I can.
I mean, brother, I believe you.
But I want to
for everyone,
exactly. I want to tell y'all exactly what he said. But you go ahead and cook, and I'm gonna look and see if I can pull that up from the other day.
And that's all I'm saying. It's like every time they bring up another fighter, it's like we want to fight Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao. Errol Spence, like, okay, let's be 100, right? Where do Crawford and Team Crawford get all of this like clout to come into 147 and act like they the shot caller? I mean, if we keep it 100, you unified against Julius Indongo. That don't make you the best fighter in the world once you step up into another weight class. It's not like you unified against some killer at 140. You unified against Julius Indongo, which Prograis made easier work of him in his next fight. And it's not like Indongo was such a damaged fighter from that fight. He got dropped by a body shot. It wasn't like he took a massive beating or he got rocked in the chin, and then once he got rocked in the chin, he was different. You know, it was like he's got stopped by a body shot. We ain't gonna take nothing away, but I mean, it was evident he didn't belong in the ring with a talent like Terence Crawford. So now he come to 147, and when he was asked about, and this is why it's hard for me sometimes to even respond, because when he was asked about Errol Spence the first time, I remember on ESPN he was asked about Errol Spence. No, it wasn't ESPN. He did an interview with one of these boxing interviewers. They asked him about fighting Errol Spence. This is when he was still at 140, getting ready to come up. He said, "Ain't he moving to 154?" That's the first time he was ever asked. He wasn't trying to do anything. And they asked him about Errol Spence when he was going to fight Kell Brook. And he said, "Oh, that's going to be a tough fight." Now, if he run through him, then that's saying something. This is the words of Terence Crawford, because I've watched all the interviews. When he gets to 147, they ask him who he want to fight. He said, I want to fight all the champions. First, he said Keith Thurman, because Keith Thurman had all the belts. Then he said he want to fight all the champions. Then we go to the Benavidez fight, and then Bob Arum starts talking for Terence Crawford in the interview, and he starts bringing up Spence and saying Al Haymon's a cancer, this, that, and the third. He fights Benavidez. Everyone waited after the fight, his interview, for him to say he wanted to fight Spence. He said, "I want to fight all the champions." You could bring the receipts up because it's on YouTube. You just bring up post-fight interview with Jose Benavidez. That's what he said. He did not start. And then someone went to Errol Spence in the interview and said, "Terence Crawford called you out." And he said, "No, he didn't." He said he never mentioned my name, because when I call somebody out, I say their name, like I've been calling Keith Thurman out. I say I want to fight Keith Thurman. So when Errol Spence started to get sloppy and he started partying and he had knocked out Mikey Garcia, that's when Bud started saying Errol Spence's name, because he thought he saw a chink in the armor. And like that's when he started calling out Errol Spence by name. And that's a fact. You just gotta go through the timeline, and it's right there. And no one's taking anything away from Terence Crawford as a fighter. He's an elite fighter. He's a great fighter, great father, great man overall. You know, just because I take one side don't mean I can't give that man his just due. But what I will say is, the other thing in the room is, bro, you 37 fights in, and who you fight, who have you fought in 37 fights? They want to leave that shit out there. It's like you know, it don't matter. Errol Spence has fought better fighters than he has. He's been in the game 4.5 years later than Terrence Crawford. He has 10 less fights than Terrence Crawford. He's fought better competition than Terrence Crawford. And that's just a fact, whether you like it or not. Another thing that I want to bring up that people kind of gloss over, but I watch film, so we could just speak on facts, is that when everyone got so excited about the Kell Brooks knockout, if you go watch the film, that half a punch that he landed was in the same eye Errol Spence busted up. It's the same eye. He almost fell out the ring. The guy eye was shot, and he almost fell out the ring from the middle of the ring from a punch that wasn't even fully executed. Now, Bud had great timing on the punch because he ran into it, but the guy is damaged. The guy was clearly a damaged fighter, and his own trainer on the Boxing Voice, when they was saying they wanted to fight only Manny Pacquiao and Spence because they not in control of who they fight, right? They didn't know they was gonna fight Kell Brook. His own trainer Bomac said Kell Brook was washed up and a damaged fighter. And then they asked him about Keith Thurman. And then he said, Keith Thurman, we not going to get no credit. They're going to make an excuse once we beat him as well. So how can your own coach say the dude washed up, then you want to go and get full credit for a fight for someone your own coach said was washed up and damaged, bro? So listen, they got to get in the ring and fight. Point blank, period. People could take a side. They got to get in the ring and fight. Amir Khan got a glass chin. Benavidez did a pretty decent job. He got caught with a fight. His knee was messed up. I mean, I ain't going to make a whole bunch of excuses, but I mean, that wasn't no top pound for pound performance against Benavidez. I mean, if he would have lasted 30 more seconds, I mean, it would have been like, okay. I mean, it was a decent fight. So this guy said, Bud fought in 3 divisions, still fought nobody. It's true. You know,
let me ask you something, because I want to say something to what Sheena said. Okay, so Sheena, she says that Bud wants an easy route to an undisputed championship fight, right? Chilling in suspense wins Manny's belts. Now, with that being said, right, when Sheena said that, right, it made me think of something, right? Did Bud Crawford have the easy route to undisputed at 140? Let's keep it real. Did he have an easy route to undisputed at 140? If there's a such thing as an easy route, because people like to always use that easy route and tie it to Errol Spence's name, when you see that it ain't no way that he been taking the easy route. But did Terrence Crawford get an easy route to undisputed at 140?
Julius Ndongo?
Huh? Talk to me now.
Yeah, I mean,
is that an easy route?
I mean, he didn't fight the route. Listen, let's keep it 100. He didn't fight the route that Danny Garcia fought, because Danny Garcia was put in fights that he wasn't supposed to win. You know, and he didn't do undisputed. It wasn't undisputed, but Danny Garcia fought Amir Khan. He wasn't supposed to win that fight. Danny Garcia fought.
Hold on. Yeah, he sound like young billionaire. He wants to smoke. You gonna get to smoke tonight. Yeah, I'm sure gonna drop it. Don't nobody else clear. This is for young billionaire because he won't smoke.
Yep. You look at Danny Garcia
tonight. Actually, there you go, young billionaire.
Actually, when you look at Danny Garcia has and this is when you talk about easy route. When you're put in fights that you're not supposed to win and you win. Because when Danny Garcia was put in that fight on the Mayweather Canelo undercard against Lucas Matisse, he wasn't supposed to win that fight.
A big underdog.
He wasn't supposed to win. Underdog. And that's my only thing with Crawford, is that we never listen. He can have great skills, but there's nobody really ever been in the history of boxing where they're always, I mean, except for like a Floyd, and even, you know, early in his career, there were fights that people thought he would have lost. He's never in a fight where people say it's a 50-50 fight, or it's a fight he could possibly lose.
And young billionaire, if you got to turn your camera on, you want to come up in here. You got to turn your camera on, homie. If you ain't got no logo, no picture or nothing, you got to have something. Real. Cause
Yeah.
the reason I do that is because dudes will come up in here and troll and shit and get to doing weird shit. We ain't finna do that.
Right.
You gotta. I wanna. You know what I'm saying? You at least gotta have a logo or a picture or something. Up. You
Something.
know what I'm
Right.
saying? I'm not finna. Nah, we ain't finna do that.
Right. So, look, it ain't personal. You know, it just is what it is. And
Fuck with Crawford. I fuck with Bo Mac. I fuck with the whole team. I fuck with whole team Crawford. You know what I'm saying? We all fuck with Team Crawford. But it's facts is facts. I'm not finna skip over the facts for Terrence Crawford, for Errol Spence, for none of these fighters.
yeah, because look, I feel like what the reason why his fights don't sell from a pay-per-view standpoint is that they're not exciting matchups because no one believes the other guy's going to win or has a
Really,
chance. So what the
really.
fuck are you buying that for? Like,
In order to
why would you buy that?
in order to sell some shit like that, you have to be a personality like
Right,
Tank,
like Floyd.
like
Right,
Tank,
exactly.
like Ryan Garcia, maybe.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? You got to have a certain type of personality to basically sell a bullshit fight, right? To sell a bullshit fight. But he don't have the type of personality for him to sell these fights that they put him in, which is some bullshit fights. Fights when you go, no, all you got to do, right? All you got to do to see if Bud Crawford has taken the easy route, all you got to do is go back and do your research and look at the betting odds. Go back and do your research and look at the betting odds at all of his fights.
yep.
The man is plus, and if y'all don't know, the man is like plus 100, plus 1,000, plus 1,200, plus 700. And the plus means that you got to put up $800 or $1,000, right, just to win $100.
$10, right.
Now add that up. You
Right.
a huge favorite, right? You're a huge favorite in every single fight that you're in.
Yep.
Not a small favorite, not just a favorite. You a big favorite. So
Right.
the bookies, they telling you something.
Right. Right. You know, I mean, but you know, in their world, it'll just mean like he's just that good. You know, like there's no one on the planet who could beat this guy. But as I said before, Keith Thurman out there, he don't have no opponent. I mean, the fans will want to see that, and I also feel like the fact that you don't have a team behind you, and I'm talking about a business team behind you that would try to even make that fight says a lot. You know, even with Porter, I was just on a show a little bit earlier with my boy Famous, and he was asking about, why didn't Porter activate the mandatory? I'm like, and then Heyman buy the fight, and I'm like, well, the mandatory says the champ gets 75% with the WBO. Challenger get 25%. So you thinking he's gonna outbid for the fight and then pay the other side 75% of the earnings? Like that doesn't make any sense, to do that. And if you want to promote a fight or you want to get a quote unquote Spence fight, then you have to also do some work in the division and not just constantly clout chase another fighter. And I saw this happening from the beginning. No one saw it. I saw it. All Bob Arum did was the same thing he did with Manny Pacquiao and Floyd. He's now taken another fighter and attached him to the more popular fighter and has played the role that the more popular fighter is scared of his fighter.
Right.
And they're trying to do everything in the world to make the fight, but
You've seen all of this before.
it's the same shit. And you got the same dummies.
I was telling Money that shit. I said, man, this is the same shit.
It's the same thing
with Floyd and Manny. This is the same shit, then you got people falling for the same bullshit again. But check this out, right? I'm gonna get on something that Taiwan said, right? Taiwan was like, fuck it, Sean Porter better take that fucking he need to take that 1 million that Bob is offering. Sean Porter need to take that 1 mil. Well, I'm gonna break it down like this, right? They always talk about Bud Crawford's accomplishments. His accomplishments this, his accomplishments that, right? So if you saying that, you saying that Crawford is worth all of this fucking money, right? Because of his accomplishments, right? Well, but then you're saying that Sean Porter is only worth 1 million. Sean Porter is a two-time world champion. Is he not? Sean Porter has done big pay-per-view. Sean Porter's been on pay-per-view, right? And his numbers were 4 times bigger than what your numbers were, what Terrence Bud Crawford's numbers were, right? So he's got accomplishments on pay-per-view, and he has in-ring accomplishments because he's a two-time world champion, right? So with that being said, how is he worth 1 mil and you worth maybe 30 mil, right? How is that? I want to know. Can anybody make that make sense? Because Team Crawford is saying that Sean Porter, basically, he's only worth that, and he needs to take $1 million. So how does that make sense? When he always using, oh well, because of his accomplishments, that man Sean Porter got accomplishments, and he did way bigger pay-per-view numbers than you did. I mean,
it doesn't. Listen, man, it don't make sense because it ain't supposed to make sense. It's supposed to be bullshit that keeps the masses confused and have people pick sides. And it's just a bunch of confusion at the end of the day. And people, I notice that people always want to bring up, oh, Errol said 70-30. They leave out 60-40 all the time. And not to get into all of that stuff, but I mean, in a negotiation, I mean, you're telling me 60-40 isn't a place to sit down and start talking? I mean, if that's so insulting that you can't sit down and start talking from 60-40 if you got the facts and know that, you've sold a total of being generous, 200,000 pay-per-views and 2 total fights, and that's being generous. And a guy has sold 900,000 pay-per-views in the course of, is it now 4 fights? No, Mikey, Porter. It's 3 fights now, correct? Yeah, Mikey, Porter, and Danny. So it's 3 pay-per-view fights. So he's basically, when you look at the total pay-per-view sales, I had did the math, and people get mad at math, but that's just because they dumb. But I mean, Terrence Crawford has sold 21% of the fights Errol Spence has sold.
No, people don't get mad at math; they get mad at facts.
Right. Math is factual. Right? Math is factual.
Yeah, when you speak in factual evidence, right? It doesn't do anything for their argument. That's when they get mad. They don't want to hear the big facts. And Mo Bean, my man, he says men lie, women lie, and numbers don't lie. They don't lie. You feel me? And that's just what it is. So how, like I always say, they running with this ducking narrative. How is Errol Spence ducking? And they saying, right, and Bob Arum had the nerve enough to say that he's throwing these outrageous numbers out there, right? How is 60-40 outrageous?
Yeah.
It's outrageous that you think you should have more than that. That you think that you should get anything more than 60-40. You got all these other fighters. Let's talk about all these other fighters that's calling out Terrence Crawford, right? Because you don't have all of these fighters calling out Errol Spence like they are calling out Terrence Crawford now. You got Jerron Boots Ennis, you got Virgil Ortiz, you got Keith Thurman, you got Sean Porter, but nobody wants to fight him.
And the excuse every time is, if you can say all these guys and they'll just bring up Errol Spence. It's just weird.
I mean, I'm lost somewhere. All of these guys are vocally calling out Terrence Crawford, and they saying that nobody wants to fight him. He's the boogeyman. He's the real boogeyman. Where am I lost at?
Look, people can get mad at me and think I'm hating, but I honestly think Boots Ennis will beat Crawford. That's me. That's
I ain't gonna go that far.
You could. That's cool. That's cool. I'm not asking you to go that far.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I'm just saying it from what I see. I just feel like The dude is bigger than him. He has the same amount of reach. And when I came to that, I'm gonna tell you when I came to that conclusion. I came to that conclusion against his fight against Kell Brook when I saw that he could not stop a jab without switching. Because I mean, listen, when you're a pound for pound fighter, I don't care what you say, you have to be able to make an adjustment on things like that. And if he was not able to switch, I mean, I was getting ready to shut early in that fight.
If he had been in there with the Kell Brook, that was
Errol Spence, he would have had a major problem.
Bro, he would have had a fucking problem.
He would have had a major problem.
A problem. Now let me D-Lo 404 boxing, right? He says Boots, Thurman, Porter, Boots, Thurman, and Porter, they all call out Spence and Bud. Okay, let me say something, right? You haven't heard Porter call out Spence, right? Lately. Porter said that he don't want to fight Spence right now. He clearly said he don't want to fight Spence right now. He clearly said that. And another thing I want to say is we're not running around here talking about that nobody wants to fight Errol Spence. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that, oh, no, nobody wants to fight Spence. Everybody's scared of him. Nobody's saying that. But people are saying nobody wants to fight Porter. They all scared. They making their excuses.
You mean Bud?
I mean, yeah, Bud. My bad. People are running around here acting like nobody wants to fight Bud. Everybody's scared of Bud. So that's why I brought that up. Knockout Boxing 86 TV, he says, I can't say that until I see Boots take a punch from a top fighter. If Boots has a chin, he's a problem for everyone. Yeah.
I could agree with that.
Yeah, but see, my thing with Boots, right? My thing with Boots is that he is a great talent, right? The eye test is one thing, but I got to see how you do when you in the ring against top level competition. And I say that with everybody. So, you know, he could very well be better than all of these dudes, but that's yet to be seen. So until I see it, I can't put him above nobody like Crawford or Spence or none of those top guys.
I'm not, listen to me, Keon, I'm not putting him above him. I'm just saying I think he could beat him. You feel me? I'm not saying I'm not putting him above him. I'm just, when I look at the matchup, I look at reach, size, what I've seen, I've noticed something very different from Terrence Bud Crawford when he fights a guy who has reach just like him. We saw how his style, how he fought against Victor Postol. We saw his style when he fought against David Benavidez. When it's a guy, see, because at 140 and 130 and 135, his reach was just crazy. I mean, even at 147, his reach is 74 inches to Errol Spence's 72 inches.
Right.
I've noticed that plays a huge factor in his fight game. And Boots also has a 74-inch reach. He's 5'10", so he's also just a physically bigger man than Bud Crawford is, and can also switch. And that's what my thing is. If he had an issue with Kell Brook's jab and he was able to switch, now imagine someone who could do the same thing he could do and switch as well. You know, who could do it. I'm just saying, because I'm the biggest Spence fan, and we know that. But I've watched the Spence Van Heerden fight at least 8 or 9 times. And I watched that first round with Boots Ennis, and Van Heerden wasn't in no wars after that to say he was washed up, and Boots was getting ready to walk through him. That guy could punch.
Van Heerden wasn't the same fighter, dog. He was older. He's a lot older.
He's older, yeah. He's older.
A lot older now. He haven't been active at all. So Van Heerden wasn't the same fighter. I gotta disagree with that, because he ain't been active and he's a lot older. And you know what I'm saying? With that not being active and being a lot older, that was 6 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I can't. That wasn't the same Chris Van Heerden. He didn't even look the same. The Chris Van Heerden that fought Errol Spence was he was a lot like bigger, you know, a lot more muscular, he was in way better shape. He didn't even look the same. Dude ain't even been active, you know.
But one thing he could do, one thing Chris Van Heerden was able to do, was he was able to take a punch and he reacted differently when he was hit by Ennis than when he was hit by Spence, because Spence wore him down.
Yeah.
He wore him down. When Boots hit him, he hurt him immediately. Like dude was in survival mode.
Yeah, he was hurt. Boots put it on him. But you know, it's certain styles make certain fights.
And that's all. And all I'm gonna say to finish that off, to get off of the Van Heerden, is just that we've seen how Bud reacts when he also get hit too. When he get hit as well, he don't react. I feel like Bud's biggest strength, kind of like Floyd, is his endurance. He recovers because he's in such great shape when he gets hit, but he don't take punches the best, and he get clipped early in fights. And most fights, he winds up figuring people out after he takes a bunch of clean shots. And so I will pay money to see that fight. And people think just because like I'm a Spence guy, and I'm not saying that's you because you know me.
Yeah, right.
I honestly at my heart believe that Boots Ennis could beat Terrence Bud Crawford. I just honestly and just to tell you how real I am about that, I feel like Boots Ennis to me is I have more worry for my favorite fighter, Errol Spence, fighting Boots Ennis than fighting Terrence Bud Crawford. That's just me. I'm worried more about Boots than Terrence, but you know he has to still go prove himself and fight in top competition fights. But on the flip side, just like Errol Spence had to deal with when he was coming up, he can't get those fights. Errol couldn't get them. It's like he's in that high risk, low reward place in his career, Ennis, like Spence was as well. We're
gonna get to see a lot. We're gonna find out a lot about Ennis come April 10th when he fights Lipinets.
Yeah, he gonna fight Lipinets.
A lot about Ennis because if he can walk through Lipinets, ain't no punk. You know what I'm saying? If he could walk through Lipinets like that and make Lipinets get bad, look bad, and get Lipinets up out of there, the motherfucker problem. then you're gonna hear me say, yeah, this dude is a fucking problem.
I got him
problem. We already know his problem, but if he walked through Lipinets and throw out against Lipinets, a guy that knocked out Lamont Peterson,
retired him.
Retired Lamont Peterson, a guy that gave Mikey Garcia hell at 140. So yeah, if he do that to Lipinets, then he gonna show something. He gonna show me something. Now let me address Jalil the leader, because he had asked a question and then he had made a statement. He asked, do we think that Errol Spence have supreme confidence like Muhammad Ali confidence? And then he says that he don't think that Errol Spence has confidence like that. He don't think that Errol Spence believe that he could beat Spence. And I'm gonna answer that. First off, I do. When Errol Spence is on his shit, when he knows that he's on his shit, Errol Spence has supreme confidence. I think Errol Spence is one of the most confident fighters in the whole game. You know what I'm saying? And plus, he's fought the top level competition and beat all of them. You can't say that for Terrence Crawford, right? So with you saying that you don't think that he could beat Terrence Crawford, I 100% think that he knows, he really, in his head, he knows he could beat Terrence Crawford. I think he really believes he could beat Terrence Crawford. This ain't got nothing to do with him. You see, y'all got it twisted. This don't have nothing to do with him not believing he could beat Terrence Crawford because he's saying that he wants 60-40. That'll go for anybody. Like he told y'all, he not getting in the ring with nobody unless the business is right. It's only a few dudes that you're going to see Errol Spence in the ring, and he's not going to be getting the lion's share, right? That's a Manny Pacquiao, and that's a Canelo, right? The rest of them guys, he getting the lion's share. That's just what it is. You know, if Terrence Crawford is not, you know what I'm saying? It's no exception. It's no exception. But man, what you think about that? The comments, what he said.
I mean, I can't agree with that because I'm pretty sure Errol Spence's team and advisors didn't want him to fight Danny Garcia off a car accident. That in itself shows as somebody who has supreme confidence. I mean that Danny Garcia. If there's one thing Danny Garcia could do is he could punch. I mean, if he can't do much else, I mean, Danny Garcia, is a guy who could punch. And Errol Spence went in there and made the guy, basically was a unanimous decision, and he wasn't even his at his full capacity, his full potential in that fight. And it's tough to say that about someone not having confidence just being a boxer. I mean, if you don't have confidence as a boxer, I mean, you can't even be in that game to begin with. But what see here's the thing, because boxing is such, for a lot of people, is very egotistic.
And my bad. Y'all hit my like button. If everybody in the building, make sure that you hit the like button. It's free to hit the like button and it don't take no time. Y'all hit the like button. But go ahead.
Yeah. One thing I'll say is, especially when it comes to because I go off into where I get my thought process from, is that fight fans don't care about business, which is fair because they just want to see fights. But you have these fighters are in there risking their life, and if a person knows that something is the biggest potential payday, and he signed with an advisor who has gotten, and these are facts, whether you like the shit or not, these are facts. Al Heyman has like the three biggest paydays in the sport of boxing, maybe four, three out of the top four. You get hated, but McGregor, Manny Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez with Floyd. Like, are you not going to listen to a guy who has a track record of doing these things? So people could bring up egotistical things and say, oh, he's scared, he's not confident. No, the guy know that this is a big money fight for him, and he wants to make sure that he gets where he's supposed to get in the fight. And at the same time, I never see these same questions posed to Crawford because everyone is so focused on Spence, but we could say the same thing about Supreme
No, y'all
Confidence.
couldn't say that, dog.
Supreme Confidence, because if we want to talk about that, then why not fight Sean Porter? Or why not fight Keith Thurman if you got all this Supreme Confidence? Why not? Why not? Because the reality is, and we all know that the Spence fight is not happening next. It ain't happening next. Whether you like it or you don't like it, it's like move on to something that's realistic. Okay? It ain't Spence, it ain't Pacquiao. So who are the next best options for you? You have a Sean Porter in front of you, you have Keith Thurman in front of you. These are guys who don't have these are guys that don't have opponents who have publicly stated they want to fight. And if you want to be real, right, we talk about, Spence still keep the same energy. We don't see Terrence Crawford keep the same energy when it comes to these guys. They act like these guys are non-existent. And for people to sit around and act like because Keith Thurman lost to Manny Pacquiao, he's some washed up bum ass fighter. No, this is the same guy who beat Sean Porter. It's the same guy who beat Danny Garcia before Errol Spence. This is the same guy who was winning all these fights and was a unified champion at the weight class and was clearly the king of the weight class when Floyd Mayweather stepped out of the weight class. Clearly the king. So where is the same pressure? But see, what a lot of people don't want to admit is there's just a hatred for Errol Spence. So the facts don't really matter unless there's a narrative that can say Errol Spence is ducking or he's doing this or he's doing that. But if this like Homeboy said in Black Panther is if this is your king, right? Well, why aren't you guys calling for your king to fight these other top guys? Because clearly we could use the easy route shit on him because he's wants the easy route to a big payday.
He's took the easy route before. You feel me?
What you mean before? He's actively
He took the
taking the
easy
easy
route
route.
at 147.
Right.
The belt he got was the easy route.
Exactly.
Let's and you know, and to back up, you know what you saying, right? About you asking about, right? You questioning, does Errol Spence have confidence, right? You saying that he don't have all the confidence because he's not confident that he can beat that he's not confident that he can beat Terrence Bud Crawford. But check this out. If Terrence Bud Crawford was so confident that he could beat Errol Spence so easy, wouldn't he break his fucking neck to take a 60-40 split? Make it make sense. Because, right? Because how would you let motherfucking Amir Khan make more than you? You let Amir Khan make more than you. Simple. It's because that was an easy payday for you. You was like, okay, yeah, I'll go in
He ain't
here.
got no damn chin.
Yeah, I'll go in here and fucking get this motherfucker up out of here real easy. I'll let him make more because it's easy for me. It's free money for me, really. I'm getting a bag for not really having to do shit in the ring. So yeah, I'll let him get more than me. Bring him on, right? But you won't take 60-40 in an Errol Spence fight and make the most money, right, that you've ever made in your whole career, probably times 4, right? Probably 4 or 5 more, 4 or 5 times the amount of money, the biggest amount of money that you made in your whole career.
And Keon, let me say this. Let me say this as well, right? What Jalik is asking about supreme confidence, right? Supreme confidence is Floyd Mayweather fighting Oscar De La Hoya and taking a 30% split, knowing that on the other side of the rainbow, that he's going to never have to be the B side ever again for the rest of his career. And that's the same thing with Terrence Crawford. It's like, bruh, if you are supremely confident you're gonna beat Errol Spence, just go do it because these business things won't ever be a problem for you no more. And all of these guys that are so mad at what's going on with Terrence Crawford, be mad at Aaron because this shit wouldn't even be going on if Aaron would have just gave him Pacquiao instead of giving it to Horn. We wouldn't even Errol Spence would be chasing him.
Right.
He'd be the cash cow. Errol Spence would be chasing him. So, you know, that whole thing, you know, and it's tough because the fighters are the ones who are the pawns in the situation and put in the forefront. But, you know, it's actually his whole situation has just been messed up from the beginning because of who he decided to sign with and then re-sign with. You
Now,
know, as a person, and I'll just say this one last thing, Keon.
go ahead.
As a person that I can understand that when Terrence Crawford first started in his career, and you know when he ran, you know, and did that thing with Timothy Bradley in the sparring, and he got put on to top rank, and he wasn't getting fights before that. I could totally understand his loyalty to Bob Arum. I could understand it, but once you find out that this guy comes out publicly and says he sabotaged the fight between you and Manny Pacquiao because he didn't want Manny to get hurt, even though Manny was leaving Top Rank and gave the fight to someone else, then you should have known at that time that this guy wasn't for you. You should have known that you needed to look out for yourself going forward and either went independent like Mikey Garcia did, which I don't advise because they don't make really good business decisions, and that's okay because they fighters, you know, or you should have signed where the other welterweights are at. But Errol Spence made a great point about uh about Bob Arum giving you 200, wanted to offer him a $200,000 signing bonus. It's just like in the music business. Once someone gives you money before you do anything, you are mentally a slave to them. You
Right.
feel like you owe them. This, you know what I mean? It's like they have something over
They
you.
looked out for you when you ain't had shit.
Right. So, and this is all a big game too, because on the flip side of it, we don't even know what happened to make him resign, because what people sometimes will do is they'll come and give you in advance on something a couple months before it's time to re-up, or a year before it's time to re-up, and then now you beholden to them again, and you've seen the hell that this person, because then there's a psychological fear factor that goes into things. You see the hell that happened to Mikey Garcia. He ain't fight for 2 years trying to get out of shit. You probably don't want to go through that as well. So look, don't be mad at Errol Spence because he decided to do what was best for him. Because he over there at PBC fighting the best fighters he can over there at PBC. I mean, except for the Keith Thurman thing, which I don't really like that right
I
now.
don't like that Keith Thurman shit. I got on Errol Spence about that Keith Thurman shit.
I know. I watched the show with you and Monty going back and forth about that, but I side with you on that because it's a great fight for the sport. And
Right.
all I'm saying is, both of those guys at times, Spence and Bud, had to put their egos aside, because that's ego saying, I'm not gonna fight Keith Thurman. And this shit is business, So on a flip side, it's like, okay, if Errol Spence over there doing what he's supposed to be doing because he signed a contract with who he decided to sign a contract with, and Bud signed a contract with who he did, and it's evident at this point they don't even want to make fights for him because they've lost so much money that they're like, well, we ain't really, all the money we lost, we ain't gonna get no return on this Porter fight. So, and then he'll probably leave us. So we not gonna put no money on that. Or we not even talk about Keith Thurman because, whatever. So how you gonna sit around and just keep being mad at Errol Spence for that when it's obvious that his side, for just getting them to make any fight for him at this point, has been a huge challenge. How you gonna blame Spence for that? That don't even make sense.
And I want to address some and Todd Swindle off in the building from that ATL. What's good with you, Todd? Man, let me say this right, because he says, Jaleel also said, he said, I don't pocket watch, but they not even trying to negotiate. He says, Errol don't want to fight, can't blame Al Heyman, right? And he says, when did Errol send out an offer? Now, check this out, right? Check this out, right? Let me say this, right? Because, see, y'all are so infatuated with running, right? With running a fucking sprint with anything that Bob Arum and anything that Terrence Crawford come out and tell you, but you don't listen to half of the shit that Bob Arum say. You must not. You only listen to what you want to hear what he say, right? Because he contradicts himself all the time. Now, we are in a pandemic. Bob Arum has been said you can't make no fight of an Errol Spence, right? You can't make a fight with Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford right now because they need fans in attendance. Just like he said with Tyson Fury, with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, right? They need fans in attendance. They need to wait until everything is cleared up and they can get fans back in attendance in full capacity. Are y'all forgetting that this is a cross promotion, right? ESPN, Fox Sports, PBC, ESPN, Top Rank, cross promotional fight, right? This is a big fight. Bob Arum said, how you gonna pay these dudes? Who gonna pay them? Now, so you sitting here talking about, oh, he ain't sitting no contract. He ain't sitting. See, what y'all don't understand is we talking about all this shit, but because you guys keep running with a fucking narrative that Errol Spence is scared and he's ducking and this and that. These dudes ain't gonna fight right now. Why would he send a contract over for one when the man is already telling you what he's going to give him, 60-40, and that man is telling you that he's not going to take a 60-40. So that's one reason why the fuck would he send a contract. And then another reason, what are you going to send a contract for when they're not even going to make the fight? When Terrence Crawford's own promoter said that they can't fight right now because of the pandemic and they need who's going to pay these guys. It ain't enough money, because they need fans in attendance. Come on, man. Use common sense. That's all I'm saying is all y'all want to do is run with the narrative because you so in love with Terrence Crawford. All you want to do is just run with that narrative. that motherfucker would tell you that is bleeding, that is bleeding blood out of the sky right now, right? That is raining fucking red, and you gonna believe it. Well, Terrence Crawford said it, and Bob Arum came and backed it up. Use common sense when it comes to this shit.
Ain't Bob Arum the same guy who said yesterday I was lying, today I'm telling the truth? I mean, this guy is known to habitually lie. This guy, listen, think about this. This guy came out and said Al Heyman isn't real. He's a figment of Sam Watson's imagination. And then when Spence and Crawford met up and Spence called him out on that, he said, I said what? And he said, oh yeah, I know he's real. I mean, this guy, he comes out and lies. He just shows you that he lies. But again, it's like I said, black people, we just need a reason to barbecue. We want to take the grill out, let it just hit 60 degrees, 50 degrees. It was cold. We're going to take the grill out and put something on the grill. It's the same thing when it comes to Errol Spence. It's like you just need a reason to be mad. You need a reason to hate or say something, even if it don't make the most sense at that time. And all I'm saying is it's cool to say, all right, this is my guy, and I believe he's going to win the fight, because no one can knock you if you think.
Right, that's your opinion.
Right? You know, and you got a valid opinion. The guy's a hell of a fighter. You know, but when you start bringing up all of this stuff that makes zero sense, and, you know, and then back it up. Like, for instance, Bomac had came out stating that they should get 50-50 even against Manny Pacquiao. Once someone says something like that, it's like, bro, how can you support that? Like, seriously, like how Manny Pacquiao did 600,000 pay-per-views with Keith Thurman. How do you expect that you're going to get a 50-50 split with Manny?
Let me say something real quick, dog. He said, but y'all believe Bob Arum when he says that Bud has costed him all that money. Well, we don't have to. We don't need Bob Arum to know that, because right. You know, we know that Amir Khan got paid $7 million, right? After everything, right? Amir Khan got paid $7 million, and Terrence Crawford, he supposedly got his $4.5 million guarantee, or $4 million, right? You add that up, and they only did what, 100,000 pay-per-view buys?
Yeah, they lied.
They only did 100,000 pay-per-view buys. So I mean, like I said, numbers don't lie. I mean, add that up. So did he lose money, or did he gain money off of that?
Right, and we go back to this once again. I'm glad you brought that up. It's so funny because if we could all remember, after that fight happened, it took 3 weeks before they reported any numbers. You remember that, Keon? Right. When that fight happened, it took 3 weeks. But in 2 days after Danny Garcia and Errol Spence, Bob Arum saying that they did, you know, bad numbers. So it's like, I can't. It's just like it's dumb. After a while, it just gets dumber and dumber. After a while, to even
see Terrence Crawford is. I fuck with Terrence. Like I said, man, you could, like, in real life, he a trill ass dude. You could tell. Right. You know what I mean? You could tell he ain't bougie. He a trill ass, down to earth dude. I fuck with Crawford, and he can fight his ass off. But facts are facts. Y'all need to quit with the bullshit. Facts are facts. And I mean, see, he has an ego, right? He has an ego when it comes to this type of shit, because everybody around him is filling his fucking head up. Even though they know, like, yeah, you really ain't putting numbers up like that. But everybody around him is filling his head up because he's from a small town, right? Mm-hmm. That everybody is in love with him. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Everybody fuck with him. And nobody want to tell him, like, look, but you know what I'm saying? I think it's best for you to go ahead and, you know, take that smoke with EJ, take that 60-40, you know, try to, you know, at least put it out there. At least put it out there in the open. Like, you know what? Hey, because we ain't no fight being, like I said before, they not fighting, ain't no fight being made between them right now, no matter what the fuck goes on, right? Because of the circumstances. But at least put it out there and say, look, you know what? Because you go on Twitter and you go on Instagram and you say everything else, at least put it out there and say, look, you know what? If that man want to fight, I'm open to 60-40. Let's sit down. Let's negotiate. I'm open to 60-40, but I ain't taking no less.
But you know what? But you know what though? It makes it's more thing as I sit here and think about it. More things are starting to make more and more sense because some people are allergic to seeing the long game in things. Because see, if you have a mentality to take an advance from a person, that's a right now decision. See, like with Errol Spence, see, because you could look at the differences in the decisions, and it comes from the Twitter today. Errol Spence says Bob Arum offered him 200,000. He ain't take it. He said he wanted it. I remember him speaking on this before. He said he wanted to take it, but his dad told him that um that Al Heyman would be better for his career, and him and his dad are super close, so he listened to his dad, and look where it got him. So it's like they was looking at the long game, where when you just go take an advance, you looking at the right now. Maybe your situation fucked up, you know. Maybe 100,000 is a whole lot of money for you because you fighting in clubs and bars, and I can't knock a person like that. But there has to be a situation or some time that elapses where you then say, all right, I have evolved and I'm a different person. I've experienced different things. So I no longer am going to live like that. Because if you know that if you're so confident that you're going to beat this guy and you know what's on the other side, because this guy right here is getting pay-per-view, successful pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view, whether you like him or not, in Errol Spence. And you know that if you beat him on that on that stage and that platform, people are going to do the same for you after that fight. That's the long game. So why wouldn't you just do it? If you see, this make me go back to what I'm saying. Like when Jalik say shit like that, I had to say, Bud don't have supreme confidence.
You know what? And you're right, because I've said this, right? I've said this plenty of times, right? Why don't you, if you so confident that you will beat the shit out of Errol Spence, right?
Let's go
Why
beat
don't
him
you
up.
say, why don't you say, fuck it, I'll take the 60-40, but we got to have a rematch. And in the rematch, you got to take the same deal that I took after I beat you. If I beat you, right? If okay, I'm gonna do this. It's simple because they do this in boxing contracts all the time. You the A side right now, okay? I'll come off my high horse and because I believe that I can beat you. I know I can beat you. You the A side right now. So this is what we gonna do, right? Since you the A side right now, we gonna fight. I'll take 60-40. But if I beat you, right, in the rematch, we want a rematch clause. If in the rematch, right, if I beat you, I'm giving you a rematch. We want a rematch clause in there. If I beat you, we signing this. So because a lot of people be like, oh, well, if he beat him, what if he don't take the rematch? Well, they're gonna have to settle that in court because your name is on the dotted line, right?
The only person known for not honoring rematch clauses right now is Bob Arum.
Tyson Fury, right? Exactly. Right. And so, right, it's on contract. In the rematch, you have to take the same deal that I took. So if it's 60-40, if it's 70-30, whatever it is, because you know why? Because I have supreme confidence that I am going to beat you, right? So in the rematch, I'm the A side, and we're going to get down again, and you got to take the same deal that I took. But see, that lets me know you don't have supreme confidence.
Exactly.
Right? Because you're not even coming to the table with that, right? This is like a buyout. This is like a fucking cash out fight to you. This is a cash out fight to you. That's what you acting like. Because if you had to see, Wilder did it. Wilder told Anthony Joshua, look, whatever you want me to take. If you want 10%, fuck it, I'll take it. 15%, I'll take it. Whatever you want me to take, right? Just make sure that when I beat you, because I know I'm going to beat you, I'll sign that contract saying that. But in the rematch, you got to give me the same deal. That's supreme confidence. That is, I don't give a fuck about him. I know I'm going to beat him. I just want everything to be fair. In the rematch, I get the same thing, right? I get the bigger the lion's share of the bag. It's simple as that. And right, if Terrence Crawford did that, right, came out public and let us know, look, this is I'm trying to do this, and then Errol Spence still don't want to give him that. Errol Spence, he don't want to agree to that in the rematch. Like I told him I'll take the 60-40. I told him I'll take the 70-30. But I told him in the rematch, he got to do the same thing, but he won't agree, right? He don't. Now I'm on Errol Spence's head. Now I'm gonna be on here. I'm gonna be the first one on here saying, look, Errol Spence, you ducking him. Why you don't want to take that? For real. Now you ducking him. But see, he ain't doing that, right? You're not doing that because you don't have supreme confidence. That's what I really think. I think that he doesn't have the confidence, right, that he has when he's getting in the ring with a Amir Khan.
Of course
when
not.
he's getting in the ring with Ivis Kavalaskis or any of these Jeff Horn, right? Because I bet you he would. I bet you if Errol Spence had skills like Jeff Horn, we would have been seeing this motherfucking fight.
Right.
We would have been seeing this shit.
Yeah.
Right? But man, everything it shows. Actions speak louder than words. Actions speak louder than words. If you so right, if you so confident that you can whoop him, like you said, because they talking about we guarantee he gonna knock out Spence. He gonna make him look like a nobody. He gonna do that. Well, that's easy work. That's easy work for you. If the work is so easy, go and get that fucking bag.
Right.
Go
Just
get
like
that bag.
and just to reiterate on what I said with Floyd, it's like supreme confidence. It's like with you on a mission, nothing will get in your way. Not a 70-30 split or a 75-25 split. Not having to fight in a weight class where is 154, but you come into the weigh-in at 151 pounds, and on fight night you 150 pounds. Different gloves, letting someone else change the ring size. I mean, that's all the things Floyd had to go through in order to become the guy in boxing against Oscar De La Hoya, where things were never the same for him after that win. Okay, so that's what when you want to know what supreme confidence looks like, that's called supreme confidence. When you let someone choose a weight class, gloves, the split, everything they
And
chose.
shout out, and my bad, and shout out to D-Lo 404 Boxing in that super chat, and shout out to G5 Gabe off in that super chat. She says he say talk your ish, Keon. He say it loud for the deaf folks in the back. Bud gotta call Errol bluff if he wanted. If he wanted, if he wanted him, he could beat him. He gotta call his bluff.
I agree.
And I know if he do that and then Errol Spence back down off of that shit and don't accept it, I'm gonna be on this element. And I know Kwame will too.
Yep. I definitely,
Straight up.
I definitely will, man. So, but my thing is, look, I look at facts, and the fact is, Terrence Crawford. These are facts. Terrence Crawford is 37-0 with 28 knockouts. Errol Spence is now 27-0 with 21 knockouts. Terrence Crawford started his career 4 years before Errol Spence. Has 10 more fights. You look at who Terrence Crawford has fought, no, compared to who Errol Spence has fought at this point in their career, it's not even comparable. It's not comparable. Okay? When you look at how Terrence Crawford got his only belt now at 147 pounds compared to what Errol Spence had to do to get his only belt, which is going all the way to hostile territory, and so, not just in someone else's country, but in their city that they come from and live in, with 29 to 30,000 fans, and to be down on points on the cards in another country after 6 rounds and still grind out and get a knockout against a guy Keith Thurman didn't want to fight, that Danny Garcia didn't want to fight, and the guy that Sean Porter took his first L to, opposed to Terrence Crawford getting his belt from a Jeff Horn. And then from then on, you see a Benavidez, you see an Amir Khan, you see a Mean Machine who knocked him down, and then you see the same guy that Errol Spence beat half to death 3.5 years earlier, who a year later came to the States and met up with Errol Spence and said, let's fight again, but we got to do it at 54 because I can't make 47. And now you make this guy fight you at 47. Like, I mean, I'm not making this. There's nothing I say here that's false. There's like, that's an opinion. These are all facts that is being brought up.
People go with. See, the thing is, and yeah, appreciate it, Jalik. See, the thing is, right, is that guys like Jalik and a whole bunch of other dudes, they really think that Terrence Crawford can beat Errol Spence, and that's fine.
Right.
That's perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? Because that is a great fight. It's an opinion. I really don't even. I don't even know when the last time I talked about just breaking down like who gonna beat who, right? I don't even really talk about that no more, right? That's fine. You can have. I think that Errol Spence is gonna beat Terrence Crawford, but I don't even talk about it because it's relevant until they get in the. It's not. It's irrelevant until they get in the ring.
Right, but the fight is made.
A lot of the people, a lot of fans, right? They think just because they think they know that Bud Crawford can beat Errol Spence, that's how they feel. They overlook everything else.
Right.
You can't overlook everything else because who wins in the ring, that shit is irrelevant until they get the business down to even get in the ring. They don't get the business down, right, to get in the ring with each other. All that other shit is you know what I'm saying? It's a fucking fantasy matchup. It's a Andre Ward versus Roy Jones Jr. You know what I'm saying? It's some fantasy shit. It's some shit. It's basically it's Riddick Bowe versus Lennox Lewis. Some shit that you know what I'm saying we could talk about until our face turned blue, but it ain't never happened.
Right.
So
he says Heyman is Jalik says Heyman is colluding against Bud like the NFL colluded against Kaepernick. So it's funny because I again, right? It seems to me because it's like they always want to throw it to the other side. With Bud not being able to secure a Porter fight or a Keith Thurman fight right now, it seems like it's Aram doing the colluding. Well, like how are we throwing this on Heyman? It's not listen, it's not McDonald's job to make sure that Burger King stays open. You feel me? It's not Heyman's job to make sure that Aram is in business or getting great fights of his fighters. Especially, when we'll talk about another fact that people want to brush under the rug. Especially when this guy, right after you made a big fight with him, sued you. After he made the biggest fight with Pacquiao and Mayweather, you go and then sue this guy in court for $100 million, and then you expect him to run over there and then say, let's do business. That don't even make no sense. It doesn't, it's like, oh, that's nothing. Well, they made fights. After that, we got Molina, Bud Crawford and Molina and Felix Diaz. But what isn't talked about was that they settled out of court, which was undisclosed, and he probably had to do some fights with the guy and just gave him his scraps. But when it's time for these to make the big money fights, why am I going to make another big money fight? What fight? Because we'll exclude Conor McGregor because he wasn't a boxer and no boxing promoter had him. That was the UFC's property. But what fight did bigger numbers in boxing than Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather? None. And directly after that fight, you sued the guy that y'all just did business with.
Facts.
For $100 million. and then you gonna say he's colluding against Bud? Like,
That shit
bro,
crazy.
make this shit make sense. And it's so funny. Brothers be acting like, oh, that's nothing. You know, he gotta get over that. But it be the same guy that if you don't give him, you borrow $5 from him, or you forgot your wallet, and y'all was out together, and he had to spot you a number 2 at McDonald's, and you ain't cash at him back. That nigga ain't fucking with you no more.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's cool when someone's trying to sue you for 100 million after y'all just made all that money together.
And answer this, right? Because this is a question that I want you to. I want to ask you, Jalik, and anybody else, right? Right. If Errol Spence says fuck it and moves up to 154 right now, right? And Manny Pacquiao says, you know what? I'm retiring. What does Bud Crawford do then? Because that's the only 2 names that Bud Crawford seems to know is Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence. What the fuck would he do if there was no Errol Spence? What would he do, right? Where would he be? What would he do if there was no Errol Spence? Because all these other guys are calling him out, and he don't want to fight none of them. Mm-hmm. Y'all act like Errol Spence is the only, right? Is the only fighter at 147 pounds. And then got a nerve enough, right, to really think that nobody else at 147 deserves to be in the ring with Terrence Crawford if they name ain't Errol Spence or Manny Pacquiao.
Based on
what? Who the fuck is Terrence Crawford? God?
Right. Based on what? Beating Jeff
Based
Moore?
on what?
And beating Ndongo? I mean, like, bro, like, let's just be 100 about that. But what they don't even realize, and the point that you just made, is why Errol Spence deserves the biggest share, because y'all are showing that he's such a big starter. Y'all can't even stop talking and bringing him up. You know, right. It's actually kind of weird. And I said this before. I said, you know, I'm so happy the brother was able to recover from that accident, but what would have happened for Terrence Crawford if Errol Spence would have retired, or if he couldn't come back to the sport? Then what? Like, you know, but this is what happens when you're attached to somebody. He's attached. See, Spence ain't attached to Crawford. Crawford's attached to Spence.
Crawford's name got really big because
he's attached to Errol Spence.
Yeah, because of the Errol Spence. Before that, we knew Crawford. Everybody respected Crawford as a dog, but his name wasn't near as big as it is now until he really started attaching it to Errol Spence. And that's a fact. Because and that goes back to what I said. What the fuck would he do if there was no Errol Spence around? Real talk.
Real rap. I said that. Like, what would he do? And it shows in those interviews, even with Bomac, when they asked about Kell Brook and they asked about Keith Thurman, and said we only want Manny Pacquiao or Spence. And it's an interesting point that you brought up months ago when I started listening to your show, and I ran with it too, that I missed, is how can you be so mad at Errol Spence that the fight is not happening as fast as you want it to, and say that you tired of chasing him, but you ain't tired of chasing Manny Pacquiao since 2015?
Straight up.
It doesn't even make sense. You ain't mad at Manny Pacquiao though, but he's ducked and dodged you for six years and counting. But now you've been in the division for 4 years. 2020 is a wash. Errol Spence been out for how many months due to his accident? But you so tired of him or that fight. I mean, I don't get that. You know, but you're not tired of the 42-year-old.
Like I said, man, a lot of this shit, most of this shit don't make no sense. And like we said earlier, Kwame, it don't make no sense. Just like a lot of this shit, right, didn't make sense on Manny Pacquiao's part, right? And what a coincidence. They both was with Top Rank. A lot of this shit didn't make sense on Manny Pacquiao's part when they was trying to make the Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather fight for goddamn near 6-7 years, right?
Mhm.
A lot of this shit didn't make sense on Manny Pacquiao's part, right? But shit, is that a coincidence that they both with Bob Arum? Also, a lot of this shit didn't make sense when Manny Pacquiao and Terrence Crawford couldn't get made, right? And remember, we were all running with that narrative. You, me, we was all running with the narrative that Manny Pacquiao was afraid of Terrence Crawford, that Manny Pacquiao was ducking Terrence Crawford, that Team Pacquiao didn't want that, right? Then Bob Arum, years later, he drops a bombshell and said that Manny Pacquiao actually wanted to fight Terrence Crawford and he stopped the fight. But you still believe in everything that this fucking man says.
Yeah, that's crazy,
right?
man.
He comes out years later and says, you know what? Manny Pacquiao actually did want to fight Terrence Crawford, but I stopped it. I blocked the fight.
And that's why I said, once you heard that, how do you re-sign with somebody? Because that shows you that they don't have your best interest at heart. And that guy was known to be walking out the door, but you had a master plan and you were playing chess. And I'm talking about Arum, you're playing chess with your fighters, and you're saying, okay, well, Manny's leaving, I'll make my money here with Horn. And then what we'll do is then we'll make these guys fight later when Terrence moves up. When all you basically had to do was just give it to Terrence Crawford and turn Terrence Crawford into the mega star. But this is what happens with black fighters all the time in boxing.
And at the end of the day, it's gonna be a fucking shame if this fight don't happen. It's gonna be a shame, a black eye to boxing, and all the boxing fans if it don't happen. But if it doesn't happen, right, and there is a legitimate 60-40 offer on the table, right? Because to me, that's very generous. That's very generous. This man, people forgetting that Errol Spence got 2 belts. How are you going to come to my weight division and run shit when I got 2 belts and you got 1? You can't look, real talk. I'm the hardest pit in the litter, right? They threw you in my litter.
Right.
They threw you in my litter. You okay? Cool. You was running shit at 140 and 135. If I came down to 140, right, when you were running shit and you had the belts, well, then I would have been in your yard. I would have been in your yard. How do you see Errol Spence come down to 140, right, when Terrence Crawford got all the belts and say, oh, I'm running shit? You not, right? You came to his division. Right. You knocked on the door and we let you in. You're a guest.
That's right? Like that. Think about that. That's like Terrence Crawford being undisputed at 140 and Mikey Garcia comes up for 135. And
then say he's running shit.
Yeah, he's calling the shots on what should it
yeah. Like people don't even think about that shit. Like this man came to his division. You in his division. I'll give you, if you wanted to go off of accolades and what you did and what you done, well, you should have stayed your ass at 140. You should have stayed your ass at 140 because I'm the hardest pit in this litter right here. I'm the hardest pit in this litter right here. Right? And if you want to take over my division, well, you got to fucking beat me. And you don't get the lion's share of the bag. It ain't no 50-50 because I got more belts than you. I didn't get way bigger numbers than you. And I'm fighting way better competition than you. Fuck your accolades at 140. Right? If you want to go off of that, stay your ass at 140.
Right.
And you could be the hardest pit in that litter. But when you come around here, I'm the king, and you got to take the crown from me, right? You don't fucking come up to my division and get a fucking gift talking about, oh, you know what I'm saying? That's just like, oh, well, that's just like me, right? Coming from the fucking minor leagues up to the major leagues, right? And telling the number one a motherfucker with a 350 batting average. Oh, well, I came from the minor leagues and I was showing out there. Now you got to move over for me. No, you got to work your way up and you got to prove your fucking self. I'm the hardest pit in the litter. Stay your ass at 140 if you want to keep going off of accolades, right? Stay your ass at 140 and retire like you keep talking about. It make the Hall of Fame if that's what you want to do. But right. You ain't coming up to my division and running shit. Everything that Errol Spence got, right? Because he came to, when he was at 147, he was looking up to Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia and John Porter and telling you that I want to fight all of them, right? And he had to prove that shit. He had to go and beat them dudes, right? Everybody except for Keith Thurman, but he had to do that. He didn't come to the fucking in the division when them dudes was putting in work and they looking like, oh, okay, well, we gotta bow down to you. Nah, that ain't how shit go. That's not how shit go. People seem to forget that shit, dog. Oh, well, at 140, at 135, okay, well, that's cool. Yeah, he did that. He did those things, but he still didn't fucking beat nobody, really. Yeah, but he did those things. Give him his accolades there. But what the fuck have you done? Who have you beat? What belts do you have except for that one, right? The top ranked belt at 147. And that's it. And I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to wrap this up, but I want to get your final words on this and then
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, man. So I mean, I'm just excited that these guys started talking on Twitter. It's just always good. It's just always good when they light that flame again and get the people talking, because this is the fight that everyone wants to see. I honestly believe the fight is gonna happen. I'm a chess player, so I understand strategy, and I just know Al Heyman. Al Heyman is just kicking Bob Arum ass like he's been doing for ever since he got into the boxing game, pretty much. Arum has had to conform and transform his whole business because of what's his name, Heyman, with going to get that deal. And I'm gonna say, I said this before, and I'm gonna say it again. The only reason that this fight has not happened, it got shit to do with the fighters. It has to do with Bob Arum going to speak to them ESPN executives to go get the money, because you got to remember, Top Rank was in financial trouble.
Let me get this super chat real quick. I missed. My bad. G5 Gabe, appreciate you offering the super chat again. He said it hit and work different when you're a black boxer.
No doubt. Shit. Yeah, and you gotta remember, even Bud had came out and said this, that Bob Arum don't even run Top Rank no more. They was in financial trouble. Some other guy run that shit. And they ran to ESPN to go get that money to stay afloat. And they promised ESPN that fight with Spence and Crawford. And those executives, is the ones calling the shot, saying that it got to be 50-50. And that's why they so mad that they lost the money in this fight. So don't be mad at these fighters, because it ain't the fighters. It ain't the fighters that is the issue. The issue is the suits. And they lost money. So then he threw He threw Crawford under the bus because ESPN is on his neck. Look at the promotion they did for the last fight with Kell Brook. All they did was have clips of Errol Spence throughout the whole fight against Kell Brook. So look, the fight's not going to happen because Heyman's not going to let it happen. He's going to wait until Bud Crawford evacuates the premises. And then that's when the fight's gonna happen, because that is the best way to win in the game. It's about power. It's like the 48 laws of power. That's the best way to win, because he was looking to make another big payday like he did with, it ain't gonna be as big, but just another big payday like Floyd and Pacquiao. He tried to build it that way. But when Heyman did business with him, he turned around and stabbed him in the back and he sued him. So Heyman's going to wait until Bud is out of there, and he's going to make all the money in house for himself. And he's just letting this guy die off slowly. So I ain't gonna blame the fighters. The fighters are gonna fight. It's just a matter is if Bud Crawford is going to make the right decision, which it looks like, because once you hire a lawyer, that means you serious, and get out of that contract when he's able to get out of that contract at the end. And I believe the fight will happen. And I guarantee you, whatever the split is, once it comes out, whether it's 60-40 or 55-45 or whatever the hell it is, I guarantee you Bud Crawford is going to have a different outlook on the business once he leaves Bob Arum. It ain't going to be such a problem when he actually sits down with someone who has a completely different perspective on his career and on his business and on what his vision is for him, and the fight's going to get made. You guys can go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Loyal to the Game Boxing. Also, my Facebook group, Loyal to the Game Boxing and Sports 2. Facebook took down my group. I had over 16,000. We building back from scratch. So just make sure you guys come and subscribe. We could always get it in and keep it respectful. Salute to everything boxing, Keon Turner. I remember when he first started out, and we were doing some lives.
I'm gonna put your page in the chat too, so everybody make sure that if you're not subscribed to Loyal to the Game Boxing, my man YouTube, I'm putting the link right here in the chat. So make sure y'all click on that and go subscribe.
Appreciate it. I remember when you first started doing your shows, and we were actually doing shows together.
Yeah,
doing them from my phone, man, and you kept going, you took off, and as I said before, we may have guys who have been in the game for a lot longer covering the sport. You know, the egos and the blue bloods, and I salute blue blood and a lot of LDBC guys who's out there. But this is by far my favorite new boxing channel that's out here on YouTube. It's where the people actually get a voice, which is powerful. And I salute you for that, brother, and continued success to you.
I appreciate that. And everybody in the chat, I appreciate everybody in the chat for coming through. You already know, another great show. And once again, make sure y'all subscribe to Loyal to the Game Boxing. I dropped the link in the chat. Make sure that y'all, punch on that link and go show my man Kwame some support. Yeah, man, he had the man, the boxing group was lit. And he was hated on. They took it down for some bullshit reason. I don't know why. But he's starting it from scratch. They can't stop it. They can't stop the grind. Like Blue Blood say, the grind don't stop.
That's right.
But yeah, and once again, salute to everybody in the chat. Make sure that y'all punch on the like button before you leave the building if you haven't already done it. Check out, I dropped some videos. I dropped the one on Errol Spence and Crawford. I dropped Crawford's response. And y'all need to go check out that Caleb Plant and Benavidez video that I dropped. Make sure y'all go check out my page in the latest video that I just dropped on Caleb Plant and Benavidez. I break the shit down. I give y'all the audio. They talking real greasy, right? And we need to see this fight sometime soon, within this year, But anyway, like I said, I appreciate it for everybody for coming through, and y'all already know how I do. There you go, talking that boxing again. I don't watch reality TV. I watch boxing. We out.
We out of here.